My dear community, welcome to my channel. My name is Wei-Jen, and I help people to attract the lifestyle and love they desire to have by expanding their awareness, self-love, and energy vibration. Today's topic that I want to talk about is embrace vulnerability to elevate energy vibration and power. Now, keep in mind this word power, I don't mean the structural power or the authority power. This word power here in this content, I am referring to our inner power, our inner strength, and our personal power, which we all have within us. It's just a matter of the degree how much we really recognize that within us. So that is the power that I'm referring here in this content, in case if you're confused. And the reason why I want to talk about, vulnerability that can help us to elevate our energy vibration and personal power is because there's something that I experienced profoundly lately. So some of you may have known from my previous video that I briefly share about, currently I am going through a marriage rough patch with my spouse where he expressed to himself that he, wanted to get a divorce. And so I decided that I am going to respect and honor his wishes as gracefully, as gratefully as possible as I can. And so during this time, I have been learning, all the things, what are my rights and how can I also protect myself. Yet at the same time, both of us were very quite amicable with each other. So that is my intention that I set up for myself with the things that I can do under my control on my side of the street. So this story or this experience happened to me a few days ago where I planned to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then leave at home around 7-ish to go to the courthouse in California and to visit their self-help center to learn about what are my rights and how can I go through the paperwork process properly and correctly, authentically as well. And so I wanted to go there and then learn, how to fill up the form and what are my rights and how, I can protect myself, so on and so forth. So I knew, before I got there, I knew there was probably going to be a long line because they don't, take appointment before I headed to the self-help center. And so I meditated for a moment before I left the house. I set my intention that regardless the circumstance, regardless the things that I know or the things that I don't know, regardless the things that may happen that brings me various emotion, good or bad, I intend to make the best out of it for myself. And I know that I have a choice to still be happy regardless the situation, because I know, being sad, being upset, depressed, or being happy and grateful, they're all choices. And I'm aware that I have that power to choose how I want to feel and to determine what does this mean to me. So that is something that I know, and that also you can define it as a personal power as well, because you have that power to choose what does this mean to me and how do I want to feel about it. Now, the next thing was quite profound to me because when I got to the courthouse, the self-help center at the courthouse, I saw there were 3 people ahead of me in line before they were opened. And I remember, I had a nice ride to the courthouse, and I remember the weather was nice. There wasn't any traffic. Still, it was the early morning. And I saw, people were ahead of me. They were waiting in line, and I could sense that there is a sense of, sadness and grief and maybe even depression and frustration and maybe even anger. But they were all contained within self. And so I was very aware that, how differences between my energy and then other people, their energy. And yet, at the same time, here is a very crucial part that I made a decision. And that decision led me to my next action that I took. The things that I was very aware emotionally, internally, and energetically was that I could identify the differences between my energy and other people, their energy at that moment. And it got me to the next thought. How do I want to feel about it now? As I was in an environment where, people were in line waiting for the self-help center to open. They were not very energetic or, excited or, being grateful or being pleased or happy, anything like that. So how do I want to continue to maintain my positive energy in that environment? And I told myself, I have a choice. I can look at the things that I can be grateful for it. So one thing that I named in that moment internally, the thing that I felt so grateful for it was the weather was so beautiful. That's one thing that I named it inside my head. And then the second thing that I remember I named, the things that I'm grateful for it, is that I showed up at the courthouse in this self-help center before they were open, before there was a big, long, busy line. I showed up for me, for my future, and for my day. So that is something that I feel, once I decided things that I'm grateful for it, that led me to determine how I want to feel. Of course, I felt grateful. Of course, I felt that my day started early morning. I felt very productive and very excited, and then also hopeful as well. The weather is nice and I showed up. There weren't many people here yet, and I was the first, 4 people got here. So once I got here early, I'm pretty sure and I'm very confident that I'll get things done early as well. And so that led me to the next thing that I took the action. I greeted, I had eye contact with, other people that were in line, they were ahead of me. And I just, genuinely and also vulnerably, tenderly say, good morning, and, isn't nice, the weather that we have today is beautiful, right? And that moment, it was very profound. Because guess what? Those 3 people that were in line ahead of me, their energy suddenly changed. How they change? I gotta tell you this. Their facial expressions suddenly become from this to this. I could feel there is a spark, there is a hope that shift from their facial expression, because what I took it and interpreted is that they needed to be heard, they needed to be seen, and they also needed to feel that they are not alone. They are not alone emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically. Even physically, 4 of us were, sitting on the chair waiting them to open it, and we're, being in line. But before I got there, I noticed that none of them, they were talking to each other. All of them, they were like very, very close, very protective, and very fragile as well. So I just, started with the greeting that is very loving kind, that is very tender and warm. That just, energy, that simple message, but has a very powerful energy and is very positive. People can feel that. And so not only their facial expression has shifted, but also they started to be more open, and they started to talk about what brought them here, and how they feel. Because I remember, I was listening to, whoever would share with me attentively, and then, not giving any advice, but just listen to them and then hold the space for them. And I remember one thing I also brought it to the other people, who were going through their hardship during that time, was that I say something about, well, thank you for being here, because, I don't feel that I am alone, and I am very grateful that we're all coming here and then show up for ourselves. And that message brings like tremendous, personal power that is really warm, yet vulnerable, sensitive, tender, but quite optimistic. And I remember the whole environment just gradually and naturally shift. It wasn't, depressed or heavy anymore. I could feel that. And I also, I remember I also said a few things that, before I knew that I was coming here, and before when I was just told by my spouse that he wanted to get a divorce, I felt a sense of shame and guilt. I felt that I was a failure, in this marriage, because I wasn't capable to be a wife. And is that true? Now, thinking back, I don't think that is necessarily true. So when I realized what is true, what is not true, from there, I decided I was going to make a conscious decision to feel enough with this sense of shame and guilt. And then at some point, I made a conscious decision that I was going to release my shame and guilt and continue to moving forward during this process with more gratitude, more loving self-compassion and self-forgiveness. So I can also have the same quality towards other people, including my spouse as well. My purpose of being in this channel or this platform is not trying to pretend myself that either I'm healed and I don't have any issues, or I don't pretend myself that my life is, or my relationship is, is a la land. No. I also don't, I don't intend to get any, to be self-pity or to receive any, pity from anybody, because that will lead me to be, a victim. So that's not my intention in this channel, in this community. My purpose and my mission to be in this channel and be in this community is to learn and grow about and discover more about myself, and then also help others as well. Not trying to fix others, but hoping that, I will, through my story, through leading by an example, I'm able to inspire others. And, from this community, the vision is that naturally, gradually, we can all get closer to this happiness and joy and love, that kind of quality that we all want to have, instead of suffer or depression or anxiety. And so that is my purpose of being in this community. And when I am able to inspire others, I also get to heal myself in a deeper level. I also get to understand myself and another human being in a deeper level as well. So my point of sharing this experience is that when that moment shifts, by me expressing how am I feeling, and by me making a conscious decision to determine what does this mean to me and how do I want to feel about it, and express that to others, right? Whether people I know or I don't know. It can be quite profound, and also it can be quite powerful as well. Because, we all want to love other and to be loved by others as well. And we all want to be heard and be seen. So I think in this process, having the quality of being vulnerable is very crucial. Because when I can be vulnerable with myself and with another human being, I also get to, bring the quality of being authentic. Authenticity is also another crucial quality that I need to have if I want to, move towards to happiness, joy, and love. Authenticity is very important. If I just always pretend that, everything is perfect, even though there is a crisis, then I am not being authentic. So here is, what I want to share, a few tips that how I get to practice being vulnerable and be authentic. One way that I practice in my daily basis is through meditation and journaling. When I meditate or journaling, I usually would ask myself, how am I feeling right now? How is my body feeling? How is my intellect feeling? How is my emotional self feeling right now? And checking with all these departments, what do they need from me today? So during the meditation process or journaling process, I will ask each department. I will ask, emotional self, what do you need from me today? And I will ask my intellect self, intellect, what do you need from me today? Body, what do you need from me today? And then I will also ask for the message from my spiritual guide. And whatever all these departments they are asking from me today, whatever their request is, I will always be agreeable to give them what they want internally. So that way, there won't be, fight or argument or debating, that kind of thing. Because all these departments, they need to be heard, they need to be seen, and they need to feel protective. They need to feel safe. Just like, those people that I asked them how are they feeling, and I shared about my gratitude, my vulnerability in that moment at the courthouse with other strangers, right? They also need to feel safe. They also need to feel being heard, being seen, and they also need to feel that they are not alone. My point is not that I'm trying to be guru or trying to fix other people, their emotions. No. I just generally happen to be there, and it gave me an opportunity to practice vulnerability and authenticity as well. And also by expressing myself, how am I feeling and what brought me here, and also asking for help, asking for resource. That's also a way to practice vulnerability. Because I remember, years ago before I started my spiritual awakening journey, I was very, tied up. I was very uptight. I never asked help from anybody. And that wasn't authentic at all. That wasn't vulnerable at all. And in fact, that blocked me to be able to connect with other people in a very deep, tender level, So I think there is also another, there are so many benefits of being vulnerable. I get to connect with another human being in a very authentic and a deeper meaning, deeper level. And I get to also express my needs and my feelings, so I can take care of myself, so I can love myself before I love other people, before I take care of other people. I get to fill up my self-love cup. That's also another benefit. What else? I think also being vulnerable and being authentic, that just like naturally liberate my energy and elevate my energy vibration. Because when I do that, my body, not only my body can feel that, but also energetically, I also put out there to the universe, to the higher power or self-guide or spiritual self or spiritual guide to, guide me, to protect me to where I need to be. It may not be to where I want to be, but it's definitely to be where I need to be and who I need to be, one day at a time. So that is, some of the tips that I shared with you guys, how to practice vulnerability and the benefit of being vulnerable. Now, keep in mind, I don't, encourage people to be vulnerable in a stupid way. If, you're currently facing, some situation or in a relationship or with another person who is narcissist and gaslighter and try to manipulate you, I don't encourage anybody to be vulnerable in that kind of, scenario. So choose the relationship and the situation wisely, and then see the content, see the place and people, the incident that you're around, and decide whether or not, your intuition will tell you whether or not it is appropriate, it is authentic to be vulnerable. Last that I want to share in here, I want to end it with this quote about vulnerability and authenticity. And then this is from Brené Brown. Some of you may know her work. I'm very inspired by her work. When I am about to read this paragraph to you, I feel so inspired and related, and that got me that I want to share with you guys. So here is the quote. Authenticity is a daily practice. Choosing authenticity means cultivating courage to be imperfect, to set boundaries, and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. Exercising compassion that comes from knowing that we're all made of strength and struggle and connected to each other through a loving and resilient human spirit. Nurturing connection and a sense of belonging that can only happen when we let go of what we are supposed to be and embrace who we are. Authenticity demands wholehearted living and loving, even when it's hard. Even when we are wrestling with the shame and the fear of not being good enough. And especially when the joy is so intense that we are afraid to let ourselves feel it. Mindfully practicing authenticity during our most soul-searching struggles is how we invite grace, joy, and gratitude into our lives. And this is from Brené Brown. I hope you found my content, my video today is insightful, inspiring, and helpful for you, regardless what you're going through. If you really like my content and the message, feel free to like this video, feel free to subscribe, and even leave a comment or share. Leave a comment to let me know what's your thought, and even share with your friends and family. You never know. There are so many people out there, going through their hardship, and maybe, they're also searching for resource and help as well. And the last if you want to dive deeper into this personal transformation, with me, feel free to book a 30 minutes discovery call with me to find out whether or not working with me is a right fit for you. Last, I want to express my gratitude towards you guys. Thank you, and thank you for spending your time watching my video and hearing my experience. I genuinely and gratefully and sincerely hope that you will find some insight from this, today's video. And you are so welcome to take what you like and leave the rest. Until then, I will see you in our next video. Have a fabulous day. Namaste.